Facebook with you at Asset Academy. It's Monday, it's 7 o'clock, just gone. We had a couple of technical issues, but we are hoping that you will be able to hear Kim and myself on the live stream. Kim,
Hello.
I can't hear you, but I'm hoping they can.
Hopefully they'll let us know if they can hear me.
I have got Facebook coming up on here shortly, so I'm waiting for it to come into our group so I can see it. And we have got Jeanette in the waiting room so that we can see what's happening. And hopefully we should be on there. But as it'll go up as a recording, I just wanted to give you a couple of little updates whilst your questions come in. I was talking to Kevin earlier. He's been having a couple of chats with the bank, as you do when you're a mortgage broker. So he was chatting with NatWest earlier today. He doesn't know if the other banks are doing the same, but they're actually looking at business loans getting the same 3-month holiday that mortgage loans do. So, we're obviously live, Kim, because I've got highs and can hear you both. So that's great. They can hear you, Kim. I ain't got a clue. I'm oblivious to what you're saying, but hey-ho. So yeah, NatWest, when he spoke to them, said that they are going to do mortgage holidays for business loans as well. So if you have got a business loan for another business or your property business, then have a chat with your bank because that might also get holidays. Kevin's going to get us some more information. And the other thing that was quite interesting that he was talking to me about earlier was this government issue around the 80% salary. Yeah, and Jeanette says we are live, so that's cool. So chatting to some of the banks again, obviously when things happen in emergency situations as this is, you'll get all sorts of stuff coming out, and then everybody else has got to paddle underneath like heck to catch up with what the government are doing. So the issue for the companies is how this 80% salary will work. So if you're a salaried employee, this is the problem they're currently looking at. This is the employers and sort of, you know, the HR people as opposed to government. It isn't that the government's going to pay you your 80% salary. Your company is going to have to retain your job, but you mustn't be doing any work, i.e., they've put you at home and you're not working for them remotely. If that's the case, the company pay your salary and claim the 80% back from the government. It's not like you're going to get 80% from the government. Now, some companies are going to be like, well, we can't afford to pay 100% because we're not doing any work. So they're going to want to cut your salary to 80% perhaps. But under HR law right now, they can't do that without getting your agreement because it's a change of contract. So all sorts of crazy stuff is going on in the background that Kevin's been telling me about, one of which is how will it impact your ability to get new lending? Because if you are getting a effectively subsidised payment because you are out of work, then how does that impact the income that the mortgage lender looks at for your loans? So some food for thought. Lots of people doing lots of stuff in the background in order to actually get the answers for you. But I thought I'd share that a little bit. Kim, have you got any snippets of news from today?
No, I've just been hearing from some other banks that a lot of them are preparing forms online so that rather than trying to get through to your bank on the phone, which is very difficult at the moment, they're going to load up a page on their website and you can fill in your request for a payment holiday there. If it's a buy-to-let holiday request, I understand that benefit, if you do get the holiday, has to be passed on to your tenants. So that's what I've been hearing today.
Perfect. If you see a slight lag, guys, for those of you that are joining us slightly later, I can't hear what Kim's saying. She could be saying anything. So I'm going to get her to actually give me some sort of signal that she's finished answering your questions. And then I'll know that I can jump back in. So if you've got a question, remember, pop it into the Facebook in the comments below, and we'll get to those as we go along. And we're here basically for the next sort of 30, 40 minutes or so to cover anything you want to ask us. We obviously can't do any medical questions and deal with what's going on, but we can actually cover your questions around how this impacts you as a property investor, how this impacts you in terms of your Asset Academy program, etc. And effectively what you could be doing right now to actually get on and carry on doing what you need to do. I can't see us on Facebook Live, but I do have your questions coming through, so that's great. Now, one of the things that's going to be interesting, I know Ro and Harminder are on tomorrow talking about, positive thinking and fears, is we're all in a situation of unanswered questions right now. And what I suspect from the weekend is that's about to get a little bit deeper, because I've got a suspicion that we might get some more stringent rules applied to us because of the fact that if you take Sunday and certainly today, people that are not at work are taking this like a bank holiday. And I have a suspicion we might find some stuff coming out in the news today or tomorrow where if we can't sort this out for ourselves, they're going to sort it out for us. So that could impact you in terms of if we went into lockdown, for instance, and you've got, say, a maintenance guy who needs to go to one of your tenants, that could have an impact for that maintenance guy getting to your tenants if we're on lockdown. So there'll be lots of stuff coming out if that happens. But yeah, some interesting food thought to think about. I was listening to Russ, I think it was, with Angus yesterday. And the best thing you can be doing right now is look at your portfolio on paper. Make sure that you are prepared for what might come across to you. How many months can you survive paying the mortgage? Do you need to go straight to the lender if the tenant stopped paying? Are you going to have, are you going to be sending a letter out to your tenants? I've sent all my tenants a quick message that is basically letting them know we're aware of what the government are doing, we're keeping our eye on it, and if they need anything or they've got any queries, let us know. What I'm not doing is telling them that they can have their rent unpaid for the next few months, because guess what most of them will do? They'll go for no rent being paid. So that's one of the things that I'm doing with my tenants, just letting them know I'm here. Kim, what's going on with you and your tenants?
Yeah, exactly the same. We've sent out messages to all the tenants just to let them know, obviously, we're aware of what's going on. We're supporting them as best we can. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of, are they going to lose their jobs? Will they be getting paid this 80% or whatever? So we've just asked them all individually if they have an issue to contact us directly rather than not saying anything. It's much better for us to be informed of where we're at and we can work on this together. And I think, as with everything, when people are kept informed, they're actually very, very grateful for the fact that you thought of them, you're prepared to help them. Obviously, I, like you, have not said they can all have a 3-month holiday, because some of them are going to be able to continue to pay their rent. So I'm going to deal with it on a tenant by tenant basis and just see what progresses over the next few weeks and months. But the feedback from the tenants has been very, very positive, and everybody seems to be pulling together as far as I can tell at the moment. So yeah, that's me, Tracy.
Cool, thank you. I was just trying to deal with some little bits of technical stuff on here. If you see me looking sideways, it's because I'm actually trying to get into the Facebook Live so I can see your questions. Aha, I've got some now. I'm into the Facebook Live, so here we go, Kim. Zamar wants to know, Kim, if one of your HMO tenants has coronavirus, what should his other tenants do? What are our responsibilities as landlords for tenants in the HMO if one should actually suddenly get symptoms? Good question.
Yeah, my understanding from the government's advice is that you treat it as a household. So if somebody in the household has got it, then everybody has to do whatever the advice is in terms of the isolation period. That's how we've been treating it at the moment.
Cool. Right. So Vanessa Clark is asking, has anyone heard if the councils are dealing with council tax? So are there any reductions for properties that are empty in there at the minute, given what's happening? I mean, my initial answer to that is I haven't heard anything, and my local council have been really on the ball. I've already had my application form for my business grant, like it. That came through literally on Saturday or Sunday. So that's been filled in. So I would have suspected, given they know that I'm owning the council tax bill, that if there was something happening there, they would have already emailed me again. The one thing I'll say is, if it's empty already, then I suspect the council, may take a thought of, well, it's already empty. It had nothing to do with what's happening. Therefore, the empty council tax is still payable. But like any of the government bodies in this climate, they are all there to actually help you if you get into difficulties. And as I saw on Facebook on the group today, people have been putting up new properties for rent, and one person had 18 enquiries, the most they've ever had. So it looks like people are actually looking to go and find somewhere to self-isolate for a little time. So watch this space on the council tax. They're not going to actually try and cause you a financial problem, let's just say that. And if the government are bailing lots of other things out with 80% salaries, I suspect that they will probably let you have a holiday on your council tax and catch up later when this is all sorted. So let's have a look what else has come in. Craig Jenkins wants to know, Kim, if somebody gets a virus in the property, would we deep clean the property? Do we need to? Should we?
Oh, a really good question. I think if they're self-isolating and it's a household unit, then I don't know that we need to go in and deep clean, because they're going to have to live there. It's not like an office where people can be sent home and stay at home. So I would have thought my best guess there would be that it's down to them to clean after themselves. And if they are self-isolating, there are other people in the house, then they need to communicate when they're going to be using communal areas, wipe down after them, all that sort of thing, all the usual hygienic and self-care advice we've been given by the government already. That would be my best answer on that one.
Cool. So for those of us that are joining us and weren't here at the start, you're live with myself, Tracy Cartland-Ward, and Kim Fabian, mentor extraordinaire and one of my long friends from my mentor days as well. We're going through all your questions. So if you have got questions, pop them on the Facebook group. I am looking down every so often and getting the questions out. So Helen Roberts Lodge, hi Helen. The virus lives for days and days on different materials. Helen's suggesting deep clean if necessary, if you're going to be letting it again. So lots of good stuff coming in there. I'm trying to scroll through the rest of the questions. Let's load. Come on, let me get in there. There we go. Right, Michael. They're coming in so fast. They're jumping through straight away. Well done, guys. What happens to ongoing refurbs? Do they have to stop and isolate themselves or carry on? So I suspect Obi's talking about the workforce, perhaps. So if you've got an ongoing refurb, Kim, what's going to happen with the workforce? Can they carry on?
I think it's going to depend on the government advice. I know Boris has got his presentation to the nation at 8:30, so I think we're going to hear some quite major stuff there. So I think it will depend on what he announces as to who is allowed to work and who isn't. We've got to be governed by what the government is saying and advising at the moment, so we have to stick to those guidelines.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Hi Nick, I spotted your good evening. Michael Sharp has asked, if we get holiday relief, do they take it? And will we still have to pay interest for the remainder of the term? So does it cost us more? The answer to that is, if you take the holiday relief, you are not suddenly getting a gift of 3 months mortgage money. What will happen usually is your interest still accrues. And when you come back from those 3 months, they will do one of two things, depending on what they choose to do as a mortgage company. They could extend your term by 3 months to catch up. Or when chatting to Kevin earlier today, what is more likely is when you come back off your mortgage holiday, your repayments will have gone up, so that over the remaining term of your mortgage, that money you miss plus the interest will get paid back. So so that's what happens, unfortunately. It's not like somebody suddenly gives you a bunch of free money, sadly. It would be great if it would, wouldn't it? Right, so a couple of people are asking, they still have courses and resits they want to book, but will probably be out of the 1 to 2 year time scale. What will happen? So Kim, do you want to tackle that one?
I don't know. I'm assuming. I know that they're trying to do as many as they can by live stream. I think this is a situation that's developing day by day, so I think it's very difficult for us to say with certainty what's going to happen with that, but I'm sure that the company will make provision for any courses that are difficult to tell the direction we're in. But I know they are continuing to run courses by live stream.
But I think, oh, there you are.
Okay, did you get that?
Cool. It's right. Just in case some of you weren't on when we actually set going live, I can't actually hear Kim, so it's quite interesting trying to do this, but I'm just watching your comments. Right, we've had a question which I know has been asked quite a lot. I've seen lots of posts about this on the Facebook group, and that is one of, if you've got an offer accepted right at this present time, do you go ahead and progress it? Now I'm going to get both of us to give you our views on this, because they may be slightly different, because it is a personal preference. My view is, if I've got an offer and it's a property I want, I have to ask myself, where's the vendor at right now? Because if I suddenly ask that vendor, I want to postpone completing, that vendor can, if they want, choose to go to another offer that might have been lower and say, if you're willing to go ahead, you can have the deal. So there is a potential that you may well effectively lose your offer and get gazumped by a lower one, which would be quite interesting. So what I'd probably be inclined to do at this point is talk to the vendor and try to negotiate an agreement to delay the completion, so that they don't want to actually go off and find somebody else to buy that property instead. And I do that because you could still find some vendors, if they're house owners rather than, say, landlords, they may well have another property that they've still got to complete on. So you don't know what the vendor's situation is. So I would be one to say, talk to the vendor, negotiate something with him to delay the completion if you can. Speaking as a landlord, if somebody came to me and said, I want to delay completion, I'd probably be like, well, yeah, that's fine, but I'm not guaranteed the property will still be there if you do. So it's going to be personal preference. Kim, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. It's, every situation is going to be different. We don't know the situation of the vendors. So trying to get as close to the vendor as you can, if you can speak to them personally, if the agent is happy for you to do that, or if you've already got direct access to the vendor, it's great. But open a line of communication, find out where they're at. If it works for you, if it's the right deal for your strategy at the moment, then see if you can just delay the process. Depending on where you are, how recently your offer's been accepted, it's going to take a number of weeks, not months, to go through anyway. So I think it's just important to keep those lines of communication open and negotiate, see where you're at. There are an awful lot of people I know already that are pulling out of offers that have been accepted, not necessarily within our world, but the general public. A lot of them are just walking away from deals, right? Okay. There you go. Over to you, Tracy. Tracy? To you.
Brilliant. I can hear you, Kim. I've got two machines on the go now, so that when you're talking, I can put the volume up on that one and mute myself on this one. This brilliant technology, isn't it? Right. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Alex has put up our poll on the Liverpool's properties to rent page on Facebook. and they've had 32 people say they would hold off viewings and 24 say they would keep viewing. So it looks like it's 50-50 at the minute. We've had another message just coming in saying that some a user's been told that bridging loans, loan to value is now down to 60%. That doesn't surprise me, guys, because I think people are preparing for whether this is going to impact property values when we come out the other side of this. So bridging lenders will be slightly more cautious. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Right, Kim, what's your thoughts on flips in the current market?
I think it's really difficult. We've got so much unknown at the moment. The one thing about a flip is if we were to buy it today, get all the completion done, get all the refurb done, we would know exactly what it's worth if we were to put it back on the market today. The problem with flips are you've got to find them, you've got to buy them, you've got to do the refurbishment. We have no idea what the world's going to be looking like in 12 weeks or so. There could be a dip in house prices. So if you were looking for flips, I probably wouldn't personally right now, but if I were thinking of it, I'd want to be sure I have a really strong second exit that I can use that as a buy to let, and the income from it would cover the costs until we were in a position where we could sell it for the value we would hope to get to realise the profit we're aiming for. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. I wouldn't personally right now.
There you go. We've got timeline going on Facebook. This is great, isn't it? I'm not looking at flips right now for the main reason that I'm keeping my eye on the market, but I don't want to be in a position where I've got a house that is sitting empty. I can't go to the mortgage company and say my tenant can't pay because they've been affected through their job because of what's going on. So I might not get a mortgage holiday. And then we're sitting hoping and praying that the market's higher at the end than it is when we go in. So for me, I'm sitting back and watching the world on flips. I tell you what I am looking at quite closely though, is commercial businesses, little commercial businesses that go out of business, which sad fact, guys, we don't want people to go out of business, but it will happen. It happens in every crisis, whether it's, you know, the market dropping because of the normal ups and downs, or whether it's something like this where there's a global crisis impacting the values. So businesses may go out of business, and when they do, some of those little ones like the chippies, the hairdressers, the little tattoo parlour, if they're on a street with other residentials, you may actually be able to agree a price to buy those, but agree that you're not going to complete until the current situation is out of its current self-isolation. And the businesses might be quite happy with that because they know they've got a buyer when they come out the other side. And then when you come out the other side, you turn it into residential and flip it or put a tenant in there. So they're the things I'm looking at, is looking at where we can actually do a little side sweep, get a deal agreed, but buy it when we come out of the self-isolation. So we've got a question from Michael Sharp. Can we add that onto the tenant at the minute they think they can just have a reduction in rent? Not sure what it is we want to add on to the tenant, but I'm getting the gist that this is to do with the tenants currently think they can just have a reduction in rent. This is one of the reasons why I've actually contacted my tenants in writing and literally letting them know that it's not a gift, it's not a holiday. I'm just here to help them if they get into, you know, if they need me. I still need to get in and do certain things. If something goes wrong with the boiler, we're going to, you know, get somebody in to look at it. We'll make sure that they're actually covered in terms of self-isolating and not putting people at risk. But I'm not actually telling them they can just come and ask me to stop paying rent. I'm making it quite clear that it's situation as normal until they otherwise let me know different. So it's giving them a little bit of a hint that says you ain't just going to be able to say you can't pay rent because the government have said you can't. So I've reminded them that's not the case. Kim, what about you on your tenants?
Yeah, exactly the same. We just want to know, we've notified them all, given them all a comment to let them know that we are supporting them, but it's not just a given, as you say, that they're going to have a 3-month rent holiday. And in fact, we haven't had anybody ask for one as yet. We've made it clear that they're to contact us if there's any issues so that we can help them along the way. And of course, we're happy to do that. But I'm not just going to go and tell my tenants they don't need to pay me for the next 3 months.
Cool. I know there was one of the guys actually said that what they're doing with some people who do have financial difficulties is sending them a link for universal credit. So especially important if you have a self-employed person living in your property, because right now the government haven't actually made provisions for them other than to give them universal credit. So they are not getting an 80% salary payment like the others are. But I know there's petitions out there, there's questions being asked. So watch this space. We might find some changes for self-employed, which actually includes a lot of us. Right, let's have a look. Views on delayed completion: lose the deal or stay with the deal and see what happens in the next 6 months. So delayed completions that you've already got, I suspect, would you stay with it, Kim, or would you walk away?
Sorry, you broke up. I couldn't hear what the question was. Can you repeat it? I know you can't hear me, can you? I don't know what the question was.
I think Kim's closed off. I think that's the same as sort of the, if you've got an offer out on the table right now, it's the same thing. Yeah, talk to the vendor, see what they want to do. Obi says his refurb team have just stopped. It sounds like they've downed tools on him. Right, we've got somebody with a buy-to-let where the tenants have actually left due to the virus, and they've tried to ask the council for council tax relief while the property is vacant. It's partly furnished and they're having to still pay full council tax. So each council tax will do things up. They'll do different things. Right. One of our guys has got a 5-bed HMO that's still waiting for tenants. It's currently got no tenants in it. The agent has called them and said there is a company interested in renting it for 12 months to use for virus isolation. Do you see any issue on that, Kim?
Interesting. If they're happy to take on all the requirements that the government are putting in place regarding self-isolation, and they have to do all deep cleans and so on, I don't see that there'd be an issue with that. Obviously, it depends on what the terms of the actual agreement are with you, so you'd need to check that and make sure that it works for you. But yeah, if it's an isolated property, that could work very well, perhaps.
Cool. Right, I'm just scrolling through, guys, to look for other questions that are in there. I know with regards to advanced courses, there is currently a 3-month extension, but I have seen Jeanette actually post a comment and saying that is likely to get extended if things carry on. But obviously, we'll get you the definitive answer from that from the guys that can answer that one. Right, let's see. Right, somebody's working on a strategy of capital. If flips are not advised, what else could they work with given the level of uncertainty that market currently has? Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I think I personally wouldn't be doing flips now. I think it is too risky at the moment. So a capital strategy right now is difficult because we don't know what the market's going to do over the next few months. So I think it's maybe going back to basics, maybe reassessing the strategy and see if something else would suit you right now. But we're going to have to see what the market's doing over the next few weeks and months as this thing progresses.
Fab. I don't know if Kim mentioned lease options, but that's another area you could look at because there'll be other landlords wanting to sell but maybe finding it difficult to get buyers at the moment. So lease options is a route. Obviously, as we've seen from some of the things coming out, there could be a 50-50 on the market for people viewing to go in and rent them, but there's one solution. One of our folks has got a remortgage at 75% loan to value. It's slightly higher, 2.04 fixed for 5 years. You know what, guys? That is still a blinking good rate. That really is still a good rate. It was agreed before the base rate dropped to 0.1%. Should they take the money and run? Take the money, because your offer is at 75%. If they come back with an offer at a lower rate, who knows? They might reduce the loan to value for that one. So I definitely take it. How do we plan to do the viewings of commercial properties when you identify the deal due to social distancing? Actually, that's a really good question, and there is a solution. I can't actually, I'm not only social distancing, I'm self-isolating at the minute. Some of you may know that I was born with heart issues. So there's a few of us, and I know Barry's self-isolating. Many of you know Barry's story because of his health problems from a few years ago. I've already got that one sourced. Where the agents are still going out for us, and there are a couple out there that are, I'm actually getting viewings done by video phone, and I'm not leaving my house. So I'm still going out there looking at stuff. I had a look at one commercial, I think it was Friday or Saturday. I didn't see it live, but the agent did a video for me, and he actually did a really good one because I could tell he'd gone around the whole building because he would do a final sweep of the whole room. And all I've done is gone back saying, can you give me a bit of information about this, that, or the other? I'm only currently doing it on commercial stuff, but that's me. I've decided to keep what I've got on my residential and view just commercial for now. Right, mentorships, Kim. We've got a couple of questions coming about the mentorships, and obviously you guys aren't out there at the minute, are you? So where people were due to already do their mentorships now and have already been waiting for quite a while, are they going to go to the back of the queue? Do you know that at all yet? Are they back of the queue, or is everybody getting moved backwards?
To be honest, I have no idea at the moment. Everything is so new. The decision was taken, I think it was yesterday, or was it the end of last week? I can't remember. Yesterday was Sunday, so it wouldn't have been yesterday. It must have been the end of the week. To cancel mentorships for, I think it's just till after Easter at the moment, but obviously that's going to be an ongoing review depending on what's happening with social distancing and the advice from the government. I think it's just, you're going to have to bear with us, and we're going to do the very best we can. Obviously, we don't want people to wait any longer than is necessary, but clearly we've got to take advice from the government to make sure everybody gets through this. So we'll be just doing the best we can, but I don't think there's a clear picture on that as yet, because we really don't know how long this social distancing is going to go on for. There's been mention of different numbers of weeks, so until we know exactly what's happening, I think it's really difficult to plan for that. But we will do the very best we can, obviously.
Right. Yeah, my hair has gone a different colour again. It usually does regularly. Would you take on a tenant who is on universal credit when all your other HMO tenants are professional? Ooh, great question, because I wouldn't mix universal credit and professional working tenants anyway in an HMO. And whilst at the minute lots of your working tenants are, some of them are now working from home, or most of them should be working from home, I'd say even if you've got a professional tenant in there working from home and then they've got somebody on universal credit who doesn't work, that could actually cause problems in the HMO for me. Would I take universal credit people on right now? Yes. Would I mix them with professional tenants? No, I still wouldn't do that, quite frankly. I just think it's asking for a few problems, but that's my preference with HMOs. What about yours, Kim?
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't really like mixing. I tend not to have any universal credit in HMOs, generally speaking, but I think going forward for the next few weeks or months, it's going to be a very different situation because of the social distancing and everything that's happening with the virus. So we may have to change our tack on that in the foreseeable future, but generally outside of this particular situation we're in, I wouldn't normally take universal credit in HMO anyway.
Cool. Right. Social housing. I'm just plowing through your comments, guys. There's loads of them tonight. This is cool. Social housing is a good option right now. Yeah. So, and this is in terms of tenants that you take on. So if your property's empty or you suddenly find yourself with somebody leaving, as one person has, there are lots of councils currently increasing their social housing right now. And that's because they know they've actually got to get some people in housing. There's people coming out of caravan parks that live in caravan parks. The council still have a duty of care to help people find housing if they're homeless. So people coming out of caravan parks, they'll be helping. They may have houses themselves that have slightly got too many people in, so they're starting to reduce them just to give a bit more social distancing. And some of the guys today were posting up. I was trying to, one of the places where it was actually out in Wales, in the valleys, I think, but they're already getting contacted by the council, with the council looking for more housing. So, you know, the council are already looking at moving people, so they're spreading them out in those houses. So social housing is a great one. Jeanette says some mentors may be able to do more to help and catch up, so that's great. Right. 0 hours contracts, that's interesting. So this is where we get the gig economy. If you've got tenants on 0 hours contracts, guys, especially if they work at McDonald's or Primark, they are immediately now not getting money because they don't have a contract for salary. And 0 hours by default is going to be an interesting thing. So if you go back to the top of tonight's call, we talked about how this 80% salary is going to work. The company pays you the salary, by all accounts, is what Kevin's hearing, Kevin Gibson that is, and claims it back from the government. Well, for 0 hours contract workers, the company won't be paying any salary. So there's nothing to claim back. So, yeah, be a good one, that. Have you got any tenants, Kim, that you know of that are on 0 hours contracts that are immediately affected?
We haven't had any as yet. No, they all have some sort of contract in place. So I think the vast majority of them are going to be protected by this 80% that the government are paying. So it feels at the moment, and we'll wait as time goes by, but it feels as though it's not going to be quite as bad as maybe we thought at first with all the government help that's going on. But let's watch this space and see how it progresses over the next few weeks and months.
Right, so let's have a look. We've got one of our group, Kim, that says their property went on sale about 12 days ago. Mm-hmm. Their estate agent have told them they're suspending viewings until further notice. So they're now considering pulling the sale and letting it out. The letting agent's still taking enquiries. Should they proceed with moving to a letting position with that letting agent? Or do they conduct the viewings themselves and avoid letting the property sit empty?
I think it depends on what their strategy is as to what they're trying to achieve from selling it. Is it possible to do video viewings if they want to continue to sell it? Or will it work as a rental property in the short term, and then once the situation is resolved, put it back on the market then? So I think it's just getting a bit more about what's going to work best for them, and are there any solutions to being able to do the viewings, bearing in mind we have got to be doing this social distancing at the moment.
Cool. I haven't got a clue what you said, Kim, but I'll watch the replay. But your answers are always great anyway. So would it affect your HMO mortgage product if you move to social housing or pivot to social housing? So let's say you've got an HMO and at the minute it's maybe on an agreement that is for normal ASTs, and you suddenly pivot that and move it to do a social housing agreement. Effectively, you are breaking the terms of your mortgage offer if your mortgage dictates that you must be doing things on an AST and not a lease or an agreement. But given the climate, I would actually say have a chat with your mortgage company. They may actually prefer that you still pay them the rent for a few months than not pay, the mortgage for a few months than not pay it at all. And remember, guys, we are in unprecedented times. There is no single answer to any of the things that are going to come up. And companies, especially mortgage companies, the banks, they're doing everything they can to make sure that things are solved in the fairest and best way possible for people. So I would definitely give your mortgage company a call if you think you can get a social housing lease for a short term and it saves you going on a mortgage holiday. There is a link available if you've got a link, guys, to your council's actually looking for tenants and looking for houses, then do pop it out on the comments. Do let others see those links. They'll be really useful. Right. Good question. So all I've got on my screen, guys, is Facebook user. I ain't got a clue which Facebook user you are, but hey, you know who you are. So we've got one of our people who've booked for Momentum for the 3rd of April. They joined us in January 2020. And it's now going to be a live stream course because, as you know, everything that we're doing now, Asset Academy is live streaming their training. They're concerned they won't learn as much. Kim, what's your thoughts? Because I can see why people might be concerned about that, they're not in the live environment. What's your thoughts on how they get the most out of the live stream training right now?
I think it is always a strange thing, isn't it, when you're doing it as a live stream rather than in the classroom? But, we've got to do the best we can, and doing the live stream is the obvious way to make sure we're delivering the training to people and you're not having to wait for it. So I think the important thing is treat it as though you were in the classroom. So don't kind of sit with your feet up and kind of drift off and miss what's going on in the classroom, as it were. But get up. It's like this whole thing about the social distancing, isn't it? We need to have our routine. We need to get up as normal, have our shower, have your breakfast, all those sort of things. And I think it's the same. Treat this as a business. It is your education, so treat it seriously and make sure you bring your pen and your pad and you're making notes and you're asking questions. It is an interactive thing because you can ask questions. It isn't exactly the same as being in the classroom, but you can get the next best thing. So it's making sure you're keeping yourself awake and just really engaging in the process to get the most you possibly can out of it. I don't know, do we know if they're doing presumably resits after all this social distancing's gone? I'm assuming so, but I don't know for sure. But at least for the moment, we can get that training by doing the live stream.
Okay, so on to another question that's come in. We've got about 5 minutes left, guys. We're running slightly later than normal because we've had some technical issues. So we started a bit late, and we still have technical issues. I can't hear Kim, as you guys know. So, this is probably one of the most interesting Facebook Lives I've ever done. But hey, right. So we've got somebody who joined, hasn't done Momentum yet, and they're interested in knowing more about lease options due to the present climate. They've got 2 properties they're looking at. How can they get more info on that? First off, I'd say pop it out onto the group, put a question in the group. We'll all come in and answer it. Initially, what I would say is the first question you need to ask is just go, if you're going to view them, you're chatting remotely, you're doing video links, whatever, just ask the simple question of the vendor if you can. Do they need the money right now? And see what their answer is. And if they answer no, I don't need the money right now, there is potential, but you need a lot more knowledge before you actually can scope the deal. So I would say, just refer to an higher authority. This is a really clever negotiation trick that Mark taught us years ago. So do you need all the money now? No. That's great. I think I have a solution given the current climate, but I just need to chat with my business partner before I share what that is. Would you be open to some creative ways of actually getting this over the line right now? That would be what I'd say to them. Then pedal the heck back to the group and ask people what you do next. If people say, yes, I need the money now, I've got to pay this, I've got to pay that, I've got to move in here, then chances are that's going to be a harder one to do and you need a lot more knowledge before you go down that road. But yeah, call out for the help, guys. We're in strange times and there's people on this group helping you. Right. Lots of links coming through. Can you still rewatch the live streams? Yes, I'm posting the link to all the live streams in the announcements every day with who's on for the live, which hopefully tomorrow you will not get the deaf duo where I can't hear one of them, because it would be good. Right. Oh, Kim, this would be a good one.
Oh, go on then.
They say never catch a falling knife.
Never heard that.
Yes. What will you be looking for, and what signs or signals will you be keeping your eye out for before you go and fill your boots with more houses or properties?
Interesting. I think for me, as with everything that we do, it has to start with our strategy, doesn't it? So depending on what your strategy is, will determine what you then do. I personally have a particular strategy I'm looking for at the moment. It will change because of the current climate. So I'm going to have a review, a bit like Tracy was saying with her commercial stuff. I may well be looking at something a little bit different over the next few months. But I think with anything property, it's making sure that we've got the demand and we're buying to the demand and it fits your strategy. Does that answer your question, everybody? Hopefully.
Cool. Right. Let's see. Can we have choices delay the courses if we learn better in the classroom? The help desk is still active, guys, even though Asset Academy's got people working at social distancing and all that sort of stuff. I suspect some of them are working from home, to be honest. They are still open for business. They are there for your calls. Give them a call, get in touch with the help desk, or post on the Facebook group if you want to know, can you delay your course till you can do it in the classroom? Kim and I can't answer it. We're I used to be one of the mentors. I now run the webinar every month. Kim's one of our brilliant mentors, but we actually aren't employed by Asset, so we can't actually answer that question for you. So pop it in the group, call the help desk or call the number and ask them. Like every business, everybody is very sympathetic to any issues you've got right now that is being caused as a result of what we're going through. So do ask the question. If lease option opportunities are plentiful, what's the current marketing strategy you recommend right now? Well, before you do any marketing strategy, your first step is to get training. So if you haven't done lease options, get yourself on it. If you're just wanting help with, you think you've got a potential lease option, then utilize the stuff you've got, the Facebook group, and ask us the questions, and we'll ask you. What marketing are you doing right now, Kim?
Yeah, a lot of it has to be via social media and over the phone, because we can't physically go into estate agents at the moment. So it's all down to social media and calling people. So it's still talking to people just through different mediums at the moment.
Okay. There's a comic amongst us here.
Go on.
When are you going to get back to it and fill your boots? Somebody's put, when I see toilet rolls back on the shelves. They don't even have time to hit the shelves around here in Yorkshire, guys. They're gone when the wagon arrives at the door. Not quite sure what everybody's doing with the toilet rolls, but hey, answers on a postcard, please. Are there limited numbers on the live stream course? I don't know. Do you know that, Kim?
I don't. I'm not sure. I don't see that there would be a reason to limit it, but I don't know. You'd have to check in with the help desk on that.
We'll find out for you guys and post it in the group so that you know. I think there will be a limit, but I'm fairly sure it's a pretty big one. So we've done.
I was just going to say, I guess it depends on what the software how much that can. What's the word I'm looking for? What the capacity of the software is, because it may be a limited number that can actually log in at any one time, perhaps. Your turn.
Yeah, we'll check out the full answer to that one, because I'm just watching. I know Jeanette's online and Helen's online, and I know somebody said they couldn't get onto one of them. You do need to book. You can't just jump on them, guys. You do have to book, and that way, being booked, your seat is secured. They will have enough seats for everybody booked, but you can't just jump on them. So, Kim, thank you very much. You could have said anything about me tonight. I wouldn't have a clue. Hey ho. They'll all be nice things anyway, won't they? So what have we got coming up the rest of the week, guys? We have got tomorrow night, Dr. Rowe and Harminder in the house. Yes, they're doing everything to do with positive thinking and fear, as well as some general Q&A. Absolute brilliant treat for you come Wednesday. The wee Scottish lassie, Nick and Caroline, are on Wednesday. And I know they've got some great stuff sort of in the making for that one. I've seen some of their comments today to us. So yeah, Wednesday night, 7:00, wee Scottish lassie and Nick, an amazing mentor. And then Thursday night, we have got Neil Stewart and Heather Mortimer. So, you know, we've been talking tonight about social housing, how might it impact. They're the people to get all your social housing questions out to, guys. They run the course. So it's been an absolute pleasure being here with you tonight. Yeah, thank you very much, Kim, for all the answers to your questions. I'm sure they were really interested, and I will listen to the replay to find out what they... So from the amazing Kim Fabian and from me, have a great night. I will go back through the comments. Anything we didn't get to answer, I will go through and make sure we actually point you in the right direction, guys. And yes, I think offering toilet rolls as an incentive to get tenants in your buy-to-lets is a brilliant idea. See you tomorrow night, guys.
Bye.